Hello friends, full stack developer is one of the major role that is available in India today. There might be a data engineers, there might be machine learning engineer, there might be any other roles, but full stack developers importance will never be end. The web app development will never end. Till this IT exists, the full stack development requirement will be there. So it is one of the high paid job again in full stack developers. So if you can learn some skills which will help you to become a full stack developer, you are the right way to moving your career in the right directions. So therefore, today I am going to share what are the different skills that required to become a full stack developer. Full stack developer, essentially what it means, you are able to develop end to end for your web applications. That is what it is all about. When you are end to end, it means developing the front end, developing the backend to integrate with the front end, and also you should know how to deploy that front end and backend into a package as a package solutions into an environment by which large number of end user or customer can consume it. That is what is all about full stack developer. So if you want to become a full stack developer, you have to start with fundamental web development tools, which is nothing but HTML5, CSS3 and basic JavaScript. If you know these three skills, that will help you to develop the front end. Of course, if you can, you should also learn AngularJS, React.js, which is again a framework for web development, which will accelerate your learning path in a better and better way, so that you can collaborate with other teams. You can organize your code in such a way that it can be used by multiple pupils. So you can also leverage some of the functionality that is given by as part of this framework, and so on and so forth. So what I have covered is, first you learn basic HTML5, CSS3 and JavaScript, and after that you learn React.js or AngularJS, whatever compatible you are. That is the starting point for front end part. Once you done good with the front end part, you go ahead with the back end part. Back end part, there are many technologies, but primarily if you are focused on Java or Python, any one of, as per your comfort, as per your interest, both are highly demand. You don't think that Java is more demand or Python is more demand. No, both are highly demand, depending upon your interest, depending upon your skills that you have learned in your college. You can focus absolutely in any of the language without any fear. So Java, if you focus, then you start with core Java and little bit of Spring framework. That will help you to develop the backend services. If you know the Python, you start the basic OOPS concept, basic fundamental of Python, and then on top of that you learn Django framework, which will help you to develop the basic REST API, backend API to communicate with the front end. Or you can learn the Flux API also, which is basically a framework. The framework that I talked about for web development, React.js and AngularJS, similar framework is there to develop the backend API, which will help you to accelerate your development using this framework that I talked about. One is Django in case of Python, or Flask, or in case of Java it is Spring Boot. So any of this, you don't go with the framework learning. First you learn the fundamental concepts. In case of core Java, in Java it is a core Java. Similarly in Python you learn the fundamentals, string, OOP concepts, what is the encapsulations, what are the different classes and objects, and so on and so forth. Now what I have covered is web development, HTML, CSS and JavaScript, along with the framework like Angular or React.js. Similarly for the backend, Java or Python, any of them. Along with that, once you come clear with the fundamental, you learn the framework, which is Spring Boot in case of Java. In case of Python, it is Flask or Django. Once this is done, now your next step should be learn how to check in your code, how to collaborate with others. You cannot work alone, isn't it? So therefore you have to learn to check in your code through Git repository, where multiple people can work together, right? You should able to download the code, you should able to check in the code, you should modify the others code and make sure that you are able to update your code, and so on and so forth. So therefore GitHub is very important tools. If you little bit can extend yourself, you should also able to check in and check out your code, and then you should also pull your code and create a pipeline, right? That is called a DevOps. So one is web development part, one is backend development part, one is DevOps part, to deploy your code into the server so that other people can consume it, especially the end user. So these three area I have covered, right? Front end, back end, and DevOps part. Now everybody is moving into the cloud, isn't it? So unless and until you know little bit of cloud, although your programming language, your web development, everything will be respected, but market is going towards cloud. If you want to deploy your solutions into a cloud environment which customer is looking for at this moment, because of the cost reduction, because of they are able to see the consistency into the service, they don't break frequently like you deploy into a on-prem server. So if customer environment is most of the time it is a cloud environment, or if you are planning to work in IT organization, they are also using the Azure cloud, AWS cloud, Google cloud. So any of the cloud, you don't have to know many, either Azure or AWS, whatever you are comfortable. You should know for example Azure, you should know how to deploy your solution web or backend API through Azure API management, or you should know a little bit of Azure API gateway to make sure that API that you have developed is secure enough. Similarly, if you go with AWS, similar kind of AWS container instance you should able to deploy. AWS DevOps tools that you should learn basically, right? And similarly, if you do the little bit of Google cloud, the Google have similar kind of environment, you should know little bit. As per your comfort, any of this Azure, AWS or Google cloud, if you know little bit what are the technologies or services available in this cloud for your API development and deployment, you are good to go. So 4 areas that I have covered. One is web development area, the tools that I have mentioned about. Similarly, for backend, I have mentioned about the Java or Python. Similarly, for DevOps, you should know the GitHub repository and CI/CD pipeline to build. And similarly, for cloud, you should know either AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Whatever the only services that is required for API development and deployment, not everything, not more. If you focus in this 4 area, you will be definitely a full stack developer. And there are a lot of openings for 6 month, 1 year experience. The employer is looking for a person who have cloud experience and all the skills that I have mentioned. If you can do some certifications, if you can do some projects and put the code into GitHub repository and put in your resume and share with the employers, share with the similar kind of groups that you are connected with in your area, definitely sooner or later you will get a job. If with my background, if you remember, I have got the job full stack developer in spite of not having any experience coming from Assam. So I think you will also get a job. The important thing is your consistency in terms of applying the job, and also consistency in terms of learning the tools and technology that I mentioned about. If you follow these things, sooner or later you will get a job. That is my confidence. So with this note, this is Nirpa Chetri. See you in the next video. Till then, keep learning, keep growing. Bye-bye.